Good afternoon and welcome back to another detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion for Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. In this update, there is growing confidence that an area of low pressure could form off the southeastern coast here of Georgia and the Carolinas, including for Florida, bringing the threat for some heavy rainfall, some flood concerns over central Florida, along to go with some gusty winds. So in this video, we will be breaking down all those details. So to start off the video, here's a look at the latest GOES 19 True Color Visible Satellite Imagery provided by Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com. There will be a link in the description below this video. And as we take a look at the imagery closely, we do have this area of disturbed weather off the Carolina coast, including for Georgia. Some showers and thunderstorms are percolating up this afternoon over Orlando, Florida, Tampa Bay, Sarasota. If you're in Miami, Delray Beach, you are seeing showers and thunderstorms, including for Jacksonville. And this is going to be the area where we really need to watch closely for the potential for an area of disturbed weather or an area of low pressure to develop in the coming days. While when we look out here in the deep tropics of the Atlantic, lots of Saharan dust and Saharan air, very dry, stable. Stratocumulus clouds do indicate that clearly. And the tropics down here in the Caribbean also look nice and quiet. Now we can clearly see how much Saharan air and dust there actually is here on our Saharan air layer analysis from the University of Wisconsin, showing us that there's a lot of red and a lot of pink coming off of Africa, which means there is a crap ton of dry air. It is very stable. It is warm and dry aloft, and that's capping any tropical waves coming off of Africa that could potentially otherwise develop as they move further west. We have also another plume of dry air and dust over the central main development region and a little bit of drier air that remains over the Caribbean and over some of the leeward and windward islands, keeping things there from developing at all in terms of convection. So at the moment, as we're looking at this, early July is starting off pretty quiet out here in the deep tropics. But I guarantee you, once we go into the middle to the latter part of July into early August, this is going to change pretty dramatically. Another tool that I like to use in these videos is the latest current vorticity plot. And this is as of 11 o'clock this morning, or 18Z, depending on where you're at when you convert the time. So what we have here is an area of spin stretched out thin across the southeastern United States, and this is a decaying cold front that has recently moved off the eastern seaboard, off the northeast, and this is going to become our new focal point for the area of low pressure that is likely to develop down here somewhere in this vicinity that I circled out in black. And as we go forward here in the next couple of days, this could get tight enough to where it acquires enough deep convection and enough lift for ascent for where we do have the concerning aspect that this could develop into a tropical depression or storm in the coming days. Here's Velocity over here over the Eastern Pacific. This was a pretty formidable hurricane that did reach Category 3 last night, is now down to a Category 2 as it moves generally away from the Mexico coast or parallels with it over towards the northwest, about 10 to 15 miles an hour. And there's not a whole lot going on out here in the deep tropics as of now, but there is a little bit of vorticity stretching thin off the West African coast, part of that West African monsoon period that is beginning to increase as we get to and closer to the peak of hurricane season. So this is going to be an area that we're going to need to watch in coming weeks as this starts to increase gradually. Another product that I like to use too is a current deep layer vertical wind shear profile here. And what these red colors actually indicate is where there's a lot of vertical wind shear. Unfavorable environment here when it comes to the upper level wind pattern that we're seeing. And of course, over the Caribbean, it is highly unfavorable, but the vertical wind shear has been decreasing over the last week. Last week at this time, we were looking at vertical wind shear values between 65 to 75 to even 80 knots. Now we're down to about 35 to 40 knots in the Caribbean and around 30 knots out here in the main development region. So even so, there's red here still. The wind shear values have been on the decrease gradually, with very light wind shear values over here where our area of disturbed weather is likely to develop. And that's why the NHC gives us a chance of development. In fact, the National Hurricane Center gives us a 40% chance of tropical development in the next 7 days, as you can see here. And I'm going to briefly read this all to you, and I'm going to zoom in so you all can actually see this too along with me. So near the southeastern United States, an area of low pressure could develop near the southeastern United States, Atlantic, or Gulf coasts by this weekend along a weakening frontal boundary. Environmental conditions appear only marginally conducive for some slow development, but a tropical or subtropical depression or storm could form in this region over the weekend or early next week while the system drifts northward or northeastward. Regardless of development, heavy rainfall is possible across portions of the southeastern United States, particularly across the west central Florida coast. Formation chances are 0% in the next 2 days and a 40 to near 50% chance over the next 7 days. And I have some evidence to back that up. The chances are probably going to be up here in the next outlook from the NHC in Miami, Florida. So it's this orange area. Again, northeastern Gulf into central northern Florida and off the coast here of the Carolinas. Need to be watching this pretty closely just because we don't see any development out here off of Africa or the MDR doesn't mean we don't see anything at all this year. As you can clearly see, we do have an area to pay close attention to. So with that being said, let's compare all of the reliable global computer models on this disturbance, and let's take a look at each model because this is a bit on the concerning side as far as a rain perspective goes and some surf as well as some gusty winds. So what we're looking at here is a 3-plot system from the GFS model on Tropical Tidbits, Levi Cowan's website. And the red colors here indicate stronger and tighter spin in the atmosphere at 5,000 feet, whereas we have yellow colors indicate lesser spin. And of course, the wind barbs tell us which way and how strong the wind is in the atmosphere. So we have a ridge of high pressure that is anchored here over the Bermuda region. And then we have low-level trade winds that are doing something like this with another little bit of a ridge that is in place in the lower levels across the deep south. So putting this into motion here on the GFS model, this is the latest run, by the way. And you can see this old decaying cold front. As we put this right here in about 48 hours, you can see this front draped across portions of northern Florida, off the coast of the Carolinas, off the coast of the mid-Atlantic, including for New Jersey. And what ends up happening this time of the year is when you get lighter vertical wind shear, you get enough upper level ascent, especially in the upper levels where we have divergent flow with a background state that is marginally conducive. We can actually get these vorticity lobes right here that break off and separate themselves from the rest of the front. And what we end up left is an area of disturbed weather that can consolidate and develop into a tropical depression or storm, even subtropical in nature in this case, because it's going to have with it an upper level low to work with, and that's going to help to allow for some ascent. So in the next 3 days, you can see this area of disturbed weather right here over, again, central and northern Florida. You can take note of the height lines here, how they're bent back here, telling us that there is a wave axis that is in place here over the southeastern United States by Saturday. And this is going to be 4th of July weekend. A lot of people are going to be lighting off fireworks. Some of you may not do it on the 4th of July, but may do it on the 5th of July, just depending on your schedule and who has parties and who has what. You might want to have your party even on the day before, but even so, here there's going to be a lot of disturbing weather, showers, thunderstorms, gusty winds, that sort of thing. And that continues all the way through early next week, where we have that vorticity lobe that still is overhead of the Carolinas and off the coast, and that moves offshore. Now, looking at the Canadian model here, this is what I like to use sometimes, especially in a situation like this where there is some room of variability that is in place. We can see something similar does shape up here, except that it wants to concentrate the vorticity a little further to the south and make it a little more broader and more stronger. So what we're left up with is a pretty well uniform disturbance over Florida and southern Georgia here. That could bring quite a bit of impacts, lots of heavy rain, some flood concerns as well, and that just kind of hangs about here over the southeastern and deep south regions, like Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, as well as Kentucky, West Virginia, getting in on the action here. This is not particularly concerning in the aspect that we will see significant development with this, like into a hurricane or major hurricane. No, we're not seeing anything like that. We'll, at the very most, we'll probably see a tropical depression or a low-end tropical storm form off of this. But it's something to keep in mind because a lot of people are going to be out and about doing a lot of holiday shopping for 4th of July, especially today, tomorrow, Friday, and even Saturday, when a lot of things will probably go on sale for the 4th of July weekend. Barbecues. I know yesterday we had a little pool party. A lot of kids were jumping in the pool, cooling off and stuff. So just keep an eye on the weather, because instead of jumping in the pool on Friday or Saturday, you might want to just hang out inside or go somewhere where the weather is a lot sunnier, if that makes total sense. So looking at the European APHIS model, this is the artificial intelligence forecasting system from the Euro group, and it even indicates that something is going to develop here. Rather broad, but look at the winds here, 20 to 30 knot winds. That would be a low-grade tropical depression here on this broad wave envelope that hangs around here over the southeastern United States. And then last on our list here is the latest European model. We're waiting for the 12Z run to come in, but this covers it pretty well. There's not much differences within about 4 days away from this actually developing. So you can see here on the 06Z European 850 millibar chart, you can see there is the disturbance. Really consistent here on where it actually develops. And this is where the Gulf Stream is, where we have water temperatures around 29.5 to 30 degrees Celsius. So we're looking at low to mid, even upper 80s along the Gulf Stream here. And this is enough to allow for some slow development of our wave that hangs out around here off the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, like Savannah, Georgia. If you're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, yeah, this is going to be a big problem. Lots of rainfall, flooding, gusty winds, some surf as well along with that. And then that's not the only one on this particular model. There's also another wave tucked back in here, more underneath the ridge axis, that also might have some eyes on it in coming days. At least from the Euro, it is showing something that does tighten up a little bit more, and we can see that here on the model. See that yellow kind of grows a little bit more, and we get a little bit of a concentration here. This is definitely another wave envelope that is bear watching in days to come. This is a little past the 5 to about, this is day 6 actually, for Tuesday early morning on the 8th of July. So one thing for sure, all models indicate a strong signal here correlation for an area of low pressure to develop. That brings a lot of inclement weather to the coast here of Florida into the southeastern United States, with maybe the Euro, just the Euro showing this, maybe a second wave that develops and gets close here to the eastern coast here of the Carolinas. Now that we took a look at our vorticity plot on where an area of disturbed weather will actually form, let's take a look now at our rainfall chances and how much rainfall you're actually going to see, because it's not about the wind, about the surf. It's all about the rain. This is going to be a very wet driven system instead of a windy one. More rain than more wind, in other words. And we can see here over Florida, yeah, that's quite a bit of rainfall. And if we actually scroll back in time here, a lot of this rainfall is going to fall within the next 3 to 4 to even 5 days. So areas like Tampa Bay, Florida, a lot of people are going to be out and about for Thursday, for Friday, and for Saturday. You're looking at up to 5 inches of rainfall according to the Weather Prediction Center. And then rainfall amounts here along the Carolina coast up to maybe 2 to 3 inches. So that's a lot of rainfall in a short amount of time that falls. So yeah, this is just not, this 4th of July going around, just not going to be a good one. It's going to be very soggy. It's going to be stormy. We're looking at a lot of flooding, especially down here in central Florida. I know you haven't had a lot of rain back in like April and May, and it's welcoming to get a lot of rainfall. But boy, just in time for the holiday weekend, this is going to wreak havoc. There's going to be a lot of problems, a lot of people witnessing flooding. So please take this seriously. Even so, there's not a lot of wind with this. There's going to be a lot of moisture to work with this tropical disturbance. Now, it's not just the deterministic models that are picking up on this signal. We're looking at the ensemble group here from the Euro, and there are some hypey looking tracks here. Nothing too concerning, but there's definitely in the range here of a tropical depression somewhere along the Carolina coast, off the coast of Florida, as well as Georgia. And some of the tracks get a little more extreme if they stay out along or off the water or off the coast here further out. We could see even a lower and mid-grade tropical storm form up here off the coast of the Carolinas. And even over here, there's a group of members that bring this towards the northeast off the coast of Chesapeake Bay, as well as Delaware and Maryland. Far enough away where it doesn't cause problems, but there might be a little bit of minor swells intimating away from that. So that's a look at the European ensemble forecast. Here's a look at the GEFS ensemble, and we can see, again, still a room of possibility here that this does become a tropical depression very close to the Carolina coast, even parts of Florida. Anything with these spaghetti lines is always a chance of formation of tropical-like development in the next 7 days. Now, if that wasn't enough evidence for you all, here's a look at the latest European ensemble prediction system. Probability chances for a tropical depression to form. Winds of 20 knots or greater. And you can see here, anything in yellow indicates a greater than 65 to 70% chance that a tropical depression forms off the Georgia, off the South Carolina coast, and even off the Florida coast. So this is definitely elevated by all means compared to looking at other systems that might show something like this. By the way, that's that little wave that is tucked behind this one south of Bermuda that has a non-zero chance of developing as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if the NHC highlights that area in coming days, especially if it remains in future model runs. By the way, that is a 10 to 15% chance of something to form up there south of Bermuda. Now, looking at the chances of tropical storm force winds or 34 knots or greater, there is a non-zero chance for tropical storm force winds, anything in this gray area. That includes for northeastern, northern Florida, southeastern Georgia, southern South Carolina, and south and eastern portion there of North Carolina. So again, you do need to take this a bit seriously since there is those chances, non-zero chances for tropical storm force winds, and definitely a very high chance for tropical depression force winds, winds greater than at least 25 to 30 miles an hour. Now, when looking at the sea surface temperature anomaly here from the NOAA Coral Reef Watch Daily 5-kilometer sea surface temperature anomaly plot, anything in orange and red is well above average sea surface temperature anomalies, so basically above where we should be for this time of the year. And then the blue colors, like off the California coast, indicate where we have below average sea surface temperature anomalies. So our area of disturbed weather, which is likely to develop somewhere over here, there is definitely a likelihood that this could actually develop into a tropical depression because our sea surface temperature anomalies here are certainly well above average for this time of the year. And with our next wave that is down here, look at the temperature anomalies up to as much as 3 to 3.5 degrees above where we should be for this time of the year. So boy, the Western Atlantic right now is on fire as far as how far above average we actually are. And then over here off the coast of Africa, the main development region is definitely running above average for this time of the year compared to normal, including for the Caribbean that has warmed up slightly with the whole basin here, looking at sea surface temperatures near average to slightly above average, with the northeastern Gulf also running well above average for this time of the year. And this signal out here in the Atlantic correlated with a very strong negative PMM, Pacific Meridional mode, as well as a neutral phase of the INSO, usually yields us for a busy hurricane season. And it is not surprising if we get at least 1 or 2 named storms in July and we suddenly ramp things up by the middle to the latter part of August. That's why we are making these videos daily, to keep an eye on the tropics for you all that are watching from the Caribbean, the Gulf, as well as the mid-Atlantic coast and the Northeast. But anyways, if you found this tropical weather update very helpful, detailed, and informative, Please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, folks. You guys have been doing a great job. We are very close to 43,000 subscribers, all because of your awesome, diligent support. So if you want to get latest updates here on the Tropics on a daily basis, hit the bell icon as well so you get all of my notifications every time I make a video, because I will be uploading daily now that I'm back at home in my home weather office, as well as doing live streaming discussions and updates if something really happens big, especially if we get a landfalling hurricane within 24 hours. We will also be streaming live for at least 24 to 36 hours here on the YouTube channel. So once again, if you have not subscribed yet, this is the time to doing so before the real big ramp up in the Atlantic hurricane season in the second half of August into early September. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll be back with you more tomorrow with another tropical weather update.